Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem, and in today's top stories. Israel has officially entered a nationwide shutdown today, significantly restricting the population's freedom of movement for a duration of at least 2 weeks. Sources reveal that the United States has recently been pressuring Qatar to officially normalize its bilateral relations with Israel. The foreign ministers of Jordan, Egypt, France, and Germany reaffirmed their joint commitment to the importance of reigniting negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians. Israel has officially entered a nationwide shutdown today, significantly restricting the population's freedom of movement for a duration of at least 2 weeks. Israeli police spokesman Miki Rosenfeld informed TV7 that approximately 7,000 officers are involved in the operation and called upon the public to adhere to the strictly enforced government-enacted measures.
The Israeli National Police are implementing a full lockdown across the country from 2 o'clock this afternoon here in Israel for the next 16 days as part of an overall government decision that is being implemented. 7,000 police officers involved in the operation and activities that will continue in order to prevent movements where neighborhoods, communities and different areas are on lockdown. We've confirmed over 8,000 cases of COVID-19 over the last 24 hours, and we're calling upon the public to keep the rules and the regulations of the Ministry of Health and the Israeli National Police.
Officially announcing the list of crippling measures, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dubbed his government's efforts to thwart the spread of the corona contagion and its ramifications a prolonged war.
אנחנו נמצאים בשיאה של מלחמה מתמשכת, מלחמת הקורונה. זאת מלחמה על הכלכלה, על הבריאות, ושוב, זו מלחמה על החיים.
As in every war, loss of life is regrettably expected, and in the current reality, as a consequence of the spreading disease, Netanyahu asserts that a rise in mortality is inevitable.
אנחנו יודעים שגם אצלנו, המגפה צפויה לגבות מחיר כבד נוסף בחיי אדם. צר לי לומר לכם את זה, אבל זוהי האמת. ודווקא בשעה זו, אני אומר לכם, רק אם נעמוד יחד, רק אם נלחם יחד, רק אם נקפיד על הכללים יחד, רק כך ננצח את המגפה, וננצח אותה. זה מה שעשינו בכל מלחמות ישראל, וזה גם מה שעשינו בגל הראשון של הקורונה.
The Israeli premier also sought to alleviate the general public's concern over the expected economic ramifications of the restrictive measures, insisting that positive developments in the fields of energy and diplomacy that were recently announced will preserve the country's financial resilience. In spite of Netanyahu's remarks, which were broadcast live on domestic media, Israeli residents of the capital, Jerusalem, are seemingly unconvinced about the government's rationale behind the shutdown.
We were doing very well at the beginning, and then the pressure to open up was done impulsively. They opened everything all in one go. No one sensible would do that.
And mainly I feel depressed because I sense how the government are not taking any rational decision of this quarantine. It's only a lot of political reasons that brought us to this point that we are not dealing with the pandemic. We don't have any strategy.
Separately, prior to the strictly enforced lockdown and ahead of the Day of Atonement, thousands of rabbinical ultra-Orthodox Jews performed their traditional rituals, which they believe replaces the biblical sacrifices that were historically done at the Temple Mount, including the waving of chickens over their heads or emptying their pockets into a stream of water. With Yom Kippur, Hebrew for the Day of Atonement, set to be marked on Sunday at sunset until Monday evening, these rabbinical rituals were observed in recent days in what aims to symbolize the transfer of sins into an animal or a stream of water. In other news, sources in the Persian Gulf had revealed that the United States has recently been pressuring Qatar to officially normalize its bilateral relations with Israel. In exchange, the Trump administration would make certain that the Persian Gulf states and Egypt end the boycott of Qatar that began over 3 years ago in protest of Doha's meddling in the internal affairs of those countries and what they called its support for terrorism and the Islamic Republic of Iran. Nevertheless, a Qatari official revealed that his country had rejected the proposal and wanted to distinguish between the two issues. Meanwhile, in Israel's eastern neighbor, the foreign ministers of Jordan, Egypt, France, and Germany reaffirmed their joint commitment to the importance of reigniting negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians in light of their apparent rejection of the United States' regional approach to the decades-old conflict. Speaking at a news conference held in Amman, French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian insisted that both nations won't be able to achieve their aspirations at the expense of the other. However, despite France's refusal to back the American Initiative for Middle East Peace, which evidently brought the most significant agreements in over 2 decades, the French top diplomat acknowledged the benefits of Jerusalem's normalization accords with Abu Dhabi and Manama.
L'annonce de la normalisation des relations d'Israël avec les Émirats arabes unis et le Bahreïn marque une dynamique nouvelle qui peut apporter une contribution importante à la stabilité régionale.
The Egyptian top diplomat, for his part, praised the U.S.-brokered Abraham Accords as an important development for the region.
بالتأكيد أن التطورات في خلال المرحلة السابقة في إطار الاتفاقيات التي أبرمت فيما بين إسرائيل والإمارات والبحرين تعد تطور هام يقود إلى مزيد من التفاعل ومزيد من الدعم للتوصل إلى سلام شامل بالمنطقة قائم على قواعد الشرعية الدولية والمقررات المعتمدة والعناصر التي تم اعتمادها سواء في الأمم المتحدة أو في الجامعة العربية ومن ضمن ذلك مبادرة السلام العربية.
Jordan's top diplomat, who was one of the primary critics of Jerusalem's normalization with the UAE and Bahrain, took a more reconciliatory approach toward peace building in the region.
We do have, of course, continuous contacts with our brethren in Emirates and Bahrain. We have excellent brotherly strategic relations with both countries, and obviously we continue to talk with them, with the Palestinians, and again with everybody, all friends and partners, with a view to seeing how we can end the stalemate in the peace process and get the parties back to the table.
It is important to know that German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas, who joined the meeting via video link, was forced to cancel his trip to Jordan and quarantined himself after one of his bodyguards tested positive for the coronavirus. Thank you for watching us. Separately, as part of TV7's prayer initiative, I would like to encourage you today to join myself and the team here in Jerusalem to lift up the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan in prayer for its salvation and peace, in addition to our ongoing prayers, of course, for the peace of Jerusalem, the salvation of Israel, and for all those who are impacted by the corona contagion and its economic ramifications worldwide. I would also like to once again thank all of our partners for your dedicated support for TV7's ministry here in Jerusalem, and to encourage any one of you who has not yet done so to pray about partnering with us, which will subsequently allow us to maintain our ongoing productions and bear additional fruit with newly emerging projects. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you a Gmar Chatima Tova, Tzom Kal and Shabbat Shalom, and we will see you again on Tuesday at the same time.
Alfa